Log recording, 5:15 in the morning, West Coast time, Friday the 19th of April 2024. Yeah, Weaver Jancy Roseman, California, who thinks he's outside the sphere of everything and just watching all hell break loose. While I was in the shower trying to get myself ready for a vet appointment, my dog, I was going over some information in my head, what I remembered. I never remembered Iran and Israel going head to head. There may have been, and I've completely forgot about it, or didn't even hear about it in the news all that much. This tift for taft, shall we call it? See, the thing is, I don't remember it. I remember that Israel had major issues with Lebanon, and both would bomb each other out. The economy for Lebanon is so poor, they barely can take care of anything over there, let alone their own citizens over there. They're struggling with what they've got after years of war and strife in their country. Israel tries to recover as fast as they can, including placing military units along the northern borders, just in case Lebanon decides to go nuts again with the Hezbollah. And I remember that they used to have a war back in the 70s where President Jimmy Carter, God bless his soul, negotiated a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt regarding the Sinai issue, regarding the borders, to the point where both leaders got assassinated afterwards. Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin. The radical fractionalized section of their government decided they wanted a war, they wanted a conflict, but the peace would hold regardless. So Israel still has a tenuous peace with Egypt. I don't remember them ever going against Jordan, thank God, let alone Syria, even though that is a war torn place that's desecrated like crazy. But Iran kept saying that they were going to be wiping out Israel off the face of the earth. I don't remember the stories prior before the Iranian regime started. Way too damn young, but even with that, should have been something in the history books. Should have been something about that one. I could try finding other books and stories about it, or concerning about. One second here. I know. My turn next month, or at the end of this month, with the dog. But regards to the Middle East situation over there, it's always been it's always been hectic and crazy over the past, should we call it, nearly most of a century. 47 or 48? I think it was 48. Palestine was torn apart and renamed Israel. And they've been at war with each other ever since. And war with with the countries around them, but they wanted to be liberal, democratic. They wanted to be that way. Well, now they've got an issue because their own damn prime minister apparently likes war more than peace, and this is crazy. With its own internal strife, it practically made the Palestinian peoples a second class and second hand citizen. We did the same damn thing to the Native Americans. We did, and still do. I was talking about one particular author, I think, wrote the book Satanic Verses. For decades, he had been on the wanted list. Somebody kills a guy during that time, during those troublesome decades. They would claim a big fat reward. Because nobody ever did anything concerning about the Quran or information about Muslims or about Islam or about the Quran. And when that book came out, all hell broke loose in the 80s. I remember that one. I remember that. That was just insane. Imagine you on the run because you wrote a book that was so damn controversial that you couldn't find a place to call home. Your own home became a target, and you had to live on the run, bounce from place to place to place, never knowing if somebody else in a crowd was going to be the one to get you. One author was living through that for so long. I don't know how he had a family. But he tried. I guess he succeeded on that one. That book was a major seller. That book was a major seller. I thought the name was freaky enough anyway that you know made my stomach churn. But he was writing about Islam. He was writing about the religion and the people and everything else in the thing. That there was a lot of interest in the United States over that book. I don't know if it's still out in publication or not. Or it could have been sold out for decades. But it was still scary as hell having that kind of information around. So hearing about all these people going nuts over this. You know, it was bad enough hearing about this all the time that I'm starting to associate it with the Christian nationalists. I am. Having a country ruled by religion all the time over politics and then being enforced. Me being a Westernist, or me being American. I know it shows only my lack of ignorance because of the lack of information being shared. The more I learned about my own nation's history, Even the darker stuff that people don't even like to talk about. The stuff that ticks people off left and right. This is hard to deal with. As a kid, that's one thing. But as my dog, yeah, she was worried. She's stressing, and she knows it. And I know it too. I was talking about World War III, wasn't I? Concerned about the things happening in the world right now. What's terrifying is seeing things go absolutely crazy and you got no control over it. And I'm feeling sick to my stomach over it. Apparently, anti Semitism has been increasing. Protests have been happening, growing, been one way or another. Concerned about the Palestinian situation in Gaza. Situation of a genocide. Hamas had to start this shit. And Israel went nuts over it, and they calculated it. They had to have. If Moss got the information from Iran, it's no wonder Israel's really having conniption fits regarding that situation. I had talked about Sharia law here. I also talked about having a country raised under a religious rule. We're going to be doing the same damn thing here, too. People are trying to get that activated. Excuse me. They want Christianity to be the law of the land, but they're not following it. They're not following it. They'll use the name Christianity, but they don't follow it. They'll follow maybe a couple of phrases, and that's about it in the Bible. There was more to it than that. But to be led over and led by con jobs, pastors and preachers out there who think to war on people with religion is the only way to get religion down people's throat and have Christianity rule. It's bad enough as back in the Dark Ages we actually did the Crusades. Catholicism wanted to spread Christianity around people. Wanted to take over the Middle East. It's probably said they had a vision and they will have a Christian nation. They'll have everywhere Christ following. No, that wasn't it. Trying to understand some of the pastors, what they're preaching. Was it hate, race, hatred? Was it gender hatred? Was it hatred of another form? Firm? That'd be good. They're trying to tell me that Christ would want a militarized country. He would want to tell people that this was important, that you either follow this way or else, that you have no chance in hell. You either join them or you're against them. It's no wonder we have people with different religions having conniption fits over this. We have a school system out in California that's going ape over this. One particular major college who couldn't stand a Palestinian American making a point, making her point across. And he had to spout off security reasons to hopefully not to have any riots. But what did they have? Protests and people got arrested. Columbia University actually had one of the House of Representatives' daughters arrested because she was trying to make a point. They were camping out over at Columbia, and the university kept telling them they got to vacate. They got to vacate. Tents were taken down. Cops came in, started citing, started arresting. Over 100 people got busted, and Columbia University of Columbia president, she got put on the hot seat. She got put on the hot seat, and people are calling for her to be thrown out, resign. What they were trying to avoid was any major confrontations, and yet Palestinians were trying to be peaceful about it, and now we've got dissension going on. Do I understand their plight? Yeah, I understand their plight. As long as I understand the history of what was going on. Am I siding with Israel? Am I siding with Palestine? The Jewish nation needed somewhere else to go back in the late 40s. And they did. And each administration comes up, they still wanted no two-party state, which they should have had. They didn't. Now with this current situation with Hamas kidnapping people and making everything else go hell in a handbasket at this point over here, it's what else do you do? Colleges are supposed to be the area where students can protest, but the students wanted a longer time and forced changes down colleges' throats on this one. And the colleges said, we're going to kick your ass out. You continue this. Get arrested, processed, maybe expelled. It goes to a point. University of California was the same way. We had people protesting because the valedictorian that the college picked out, and maybe this was the fault in the college anyway, if they wanted a political viewpoint, if they wanted one particular viewpoint that the USC wanted to do, they could have picked out a valedictorian that had the viewpoints similar to what the college did. But no, they picked out someone who's got an issue regarding what's happening in the Middle East. Something close to her heart and home. She wanted to make a difference. Well, she made a difference, all right. She pissed off a hell of a lot of teachers and faculty, and not to mention students. A lot of students were supporting her on this one. It makes me wonder concerning about the liberal colleges out there. I'm not trying to throw it out as an insult, but I was trying to find a word to use for it. People have to make their protest. The people have to communicate effectively with others. I don't know what the political pundits are going to be talking about on there, but I'm talking about my own observations at this point over here. Did they have a point? They probably did have a point. What was the point? What was the pain and suffering happened in Israel, in Gaza, and the United States is part of it. The United States kept saying that we were going to be supporting the state of Israel. There are times we kept proposing a two-state solution, but apparently the administration over there didn't want it that way. They had a problem concerning about Hamas doing this kind of thing continually, and then they're going to say that we want concessions over this damn shit because of what Israel has done. But the way they did it, that one makes it harder. Now we got people jumping on each other left and right because either they're pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli. You got Islamophobia going on, or we got anti-Semitism. Take your pick. You can't just say I'm for neither. Well, I hate to say it, but in this divided, derided world of ours, we all have our sections to go to, don't we? And it doesn't matter what group it is, we're still going to be divided. No unification. But if it is unified, it's either under one banner or none at all. We're no longer practicing. We've no longer been practicing. What am I saying? Pluralism. People want what they want. You're either part of us or you're not. You're against us. Which tries to put the shame, fear, and doubt in everybody else, thinking this is the only group to be part of. I try to understand why, but there is no why with their fear mongering, with their hatred of each other. I said before in some of my other videos that we have, I made videos about in different time periods people have made their points across how the writers and creators out there who have made their products or made their medias out there for us to enjoy have stated out a reason, and we keep flunking on that one. I keep referring back to Star Trek. Well, I'm a Trekkie, what do you expect? But the thing is, regarding it, Roddenberry is trying to show us. Rod Serling was trying to show us in the Twilight Zone series. Late 50s, early 60s. Trying to put his analogies out there that keep showing up as perennials or on a constant renewal or reruns all the time. This is hard enough to deal with. We did the same damn thing to the Indians, Native Americans. Tried to wipe them out because we were trying to get them Americanized, but we realized that we were losing part of our American history, so we wanted them to retain what American history is left. But no, we had to be the schmucks out there to try to Americanize all the American children, all the Indian children left and right. And we did that. Since we conquered the entire country and trying to colonize every bit of it, we're getting rid of everything else that made the country it is. Western heritage, the Indian heritage. Indians are having a hard time still trying to retain their identity. Hardly ever hear about them anymore. It was back last century that we're talking about them a great deal. This century, Hardly ever. Whisper, a gleam. Concerning about the Dark Ages, about how we did the Crusades, I don't think anybody else cared anymore about that one. Unless you're a history major. Unless you pulled up a book to read it. Sometimes I wonder how come we're surviving this long. We want all the nice good things. All the good things we had been quote unquote promised. We see all these commercials with the smiling people left and right, living a good life. Oh, that. Everything's going hell in a handbasket at this point. The climate's gone crazy because we couldn't get our act together. Now we got to suffer with the climate. The issues with each country, territories, fighting for resource wars. Oh yeah. The more I keep looking at our world, the more I keep wondering whether or not we're going to live to. I'm going to live to survive it. I think I've said enough for right now.